Hi friends, I hope everyone's doing well. No formal intro for this video, we're jumping right into it. The reason is that last Thursday I realized I didn't have a new video planned. I didn't have time to plan, film, and edit one. Instead, this is a collage session that I filmed for my reference. The majority of the time when I create, I film it, so I have a record of the steps it took to make the artwork. As I was editing my last video, which is the one using junk mail ephemera and 3 collages, I got another design idea, but it wasn't fully thought out. It's based upon this collage that's in my previous video. As I was editing that video, I worked on this new design idea, so this video is a bit rough since I wasn't planning on sharing it. Anyway, as you just saw, I attached the design that's on tracing paper to this 9-inch by 12-inch 80-pound paper. I'm using it as a guide so I know where to place the papers, paints, and pen lines as I create the collage. I'm starting with a layer of junk mail ephemera that is mostly text. Later, I add a couple of junk mail images that are mid to dark value. As I was building this layer, I was being mindful of having all 3 values represented, which is part of my usual process. Also, I like placing text either sideways or upside down. This way the viewer can't easily read it. I want it to be seen as collage elements, not reading material. Another point with all my art sessions where I have a design idea, but it's not fully thought out, I build the layers knowing that some of it may be covered. I'm using gel medium to glue this ephemera to the substrate because I'll be painting on top of it. I want to make sure this layer of ephemera will accept the paint. At this point, I'll add music while you watch me finish this layer. I'll come back and discuss the next one. Now that the junk mail layer is completed, I brought out handmade monoprinted papers for this next layer. These papers will be positioned so they'll be seen within some of the shapes. This is where the tracing paper design comes into play. This helps me to see where the papers should be placed, along with what size and shape they should be. I use a pencil to mark on the tracing paper where the papers and paint should be placed, but it's not very legible in this video. Every curved shape will have either paint or paper. As I auditioned the different monoprinted papers, I was being mindful of having all three values represented. Also, I was thinking about balancing the different colors. For example, I don't want two blue papers next to each other. I would rather have one, say, in the upper left corner, one towards the middle, or one in the lower corner. And one more thing, my design idea is that these papers will be placed horizontally. For this layer, instead of using gel medium, I brought out Mod Podge. If sections of these papers were covered with paint, there won't be any issues with the paint not adhering to it. Once again, I'll add music while you watch me finish this layer. Now that both paper layers are completed, next step is the paint layer. First, I need to transfer the line design. I'm using yellow Saral paper because I think it will show up better than graphite, which is the other color I have in my supplies. The other colors that Saral papers come in are white, blue, and red. If you haven't used this tracing method before, Saral paper works like carbon paper to transfer a design from one surface to another. Make sure you have the transfer side down. You can tell this side because it will transfer to your fingers when you touch it. I get the best transfer results when I trace the design with a ballpoint pen. Also, I use my other hand to make sure the design paper doesn't move, even though I secure it with washi tape. I'm starting this paint layer by outlining the shapes that will be pink and green-blue light. I wanted to visually confirm that the placement of these colored shapes is balanced first. While I decided if I liked the placement, I started painting the off-white paint using an angle brush. Since this design idea wasn't thought out completely, I wasn't sure how heavy I wanted to apply the off-white paint. I started with a light wash of color. At this point, I knew this layer of off-white paint was too thin because the junk mail was too noticeable. I came back in with a heavier layer of paint, first using the angle brush, then a wider flat brush. The wider brush helped to spread the paint heavier and faster. I alternated between both brushes to finish this paint layer. Once the off-white paint was done, I decided that I liked the placement of the pink and the green-blue light shapes, so I went back in to fill in each shape. I'm stopping the video here to talk about what happened after I finished painting. I thought that the paint had dried enough to flatten the collage, so I put a blank piece of paper on top of it, then a heavy box. Well, when I came back and took off the box and the blank paper, I noticed that some of the areas of the off-white paint had stuck to the blank paper. I wasn't filming at that time, so I can't show you what happened, but I can explain it. Gently as possible, I pulled off the blank paper, but it still pulled up some of the off-white paint. The junk mail layer was more visible in some areas. I decided to lean into it instead of painting another coat of the off-white paint. I took a damp shop towel and gently rubbed off other areas of the off-white paint to balance it. To be honest, I really like the look of it better now. It looks distressed. Also, I like that more of the junk mail ephemera is showing. This is a good example of leaning into an art accident. So on to the next step, which is adding pen details. I started by using a Posca paint pen in black to outline all the shapes and other detail lines, doing my best to cover the areas where the paint meets the paper. Referring back to the inspiration artwork, I added similar thin line details with a black Sharpie felt pen, but this time the lines are vertical instead of diagonal. The black outline looked too thin and uniform to me. I brought out the black Posca paint pen again and thickened some of the lines. I thought it'd be more interesting if the lines had a variety of thick and thin line weights. Here's the finished collage, or I should say, here's the finished mixed media collage, because there's so many layers of different media, junk mail, monoprinted papers, 3 different paint colors, and 2 different black pen details. I like where the off-white paint was removed in some areas. Also, I like that you see some junk mail ephemera in the top left oval shape and underneath the green blue light paint shape in the lower right. I like the thin vertical black line details. Also, I'm glad I went back in and thickened some of the black outlines. What started as a loose design idea ended with a mixed media collage that I'm happy with the outcome. Here's the grayscale version so you can see the values. It has a strong overall light value design. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for taking time out of your day to watch it. Let me know if you have any questions. Take care.